Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Randy Miller with Your American Sheriffs, and this is my political channel. I have today Jerry Sheridan, who's a candidate for Maricopa County, and I've known Jerry for many years. And I have a good friend of ours, both of ours, Alan Morris, who's a retired police officer or sergeant out of Washington State. We're here because we want to just discuss a little bit about what the sheriff's office is, what the sheriff is about, and why Jerry's running for sheriff after being retired for all these years and could enjoy life, but he chose not to. So let's take it off. Alan, would you tell people a little bit, real briefly, who you are and your background?
Yeah, my name is Alan Morris, and I'm a retired police sergeant. I did 30 years in the city of Tacoma, Washington, and I served in various different assignments throughout my career. The last 10, I was working as a sergeant, so I ran a couple different units. But I've been retired now, and I moved down here to Arizona because I like the weather. I like the attitude of the people down here. But I want a sheriff that's going to go out and help us clean up our county.
And how long have you known Jerry, Alan? About 4 years?
I've known Jerry for about 3 years since we moved down here. He and I met, and we exchanged some war stories, so to speak. But we have a lot in common with that much time in police work.
Thank you, Jerry. The floor is yours. Tell us about yourself and why you want to run for sheriff and how long have you been retired now, and how long have you served for the sheriff's department?
Okay. Well, I worked at the sheriff's office for 40 years, and I started out at the age of 18 as a volunteer, and 40 years later retired as the chief deputy, which, if you know what a sheriff's office does, that's the highest ranking position other than the sheriff who's elected. So I've been retired almost 8 years now, and the reason I'm running is the people at the sheriff's office, the detention officers, the deputies, and civilian employees asked me to run because they were miserable. They have a lack of leadership. They've had a mass exodus of personnel since I left in December 2016, and morale is at an all-time low. And people say it is a real disaster over there. And when I talk to people, they tell me, you know what, Chief? It's worse than you can imagine. Wait till you get here. And believe me, I can imagine it's pretty bad.
How many people have been leaving the department, and is it mostly from the jail, or is it patrol, or pretty even?
Well, statistically, by a percentage, it's about even, but they're about 900 detention officers short. It's supposed to be 2,200. They're about 150 deputies short, but those numbers are difficult because this current administration has been playing games with abolishing positions, establishing them. So it's kind of hard to really give you an accurate number like I would like to. But there's been a mass exodus, and the people that have left have gone to other law enforcement agencies. And a good example is a lot of deputies went over to Pinell County Sheriff because they have a strong sheriff there. And, so Mark Lamb has attracted those people. And, the deputies have taken a cut in pay to go do that. And matter of fact, one of them was a sergeant. He quit in 2017, shortly after this current administration took over. And he's happy. He's happier than you can imagine. And he took a cut in pay and lost his rank. Oh. And the people are seeking leadership. There's no shortage of people, young people in this country that want to get into law enforcement or the military. They want to work for strong leaders, somebody that'll back them up, somebody that knows the job and can teach them how to do the job. And a good example of that I just gave you is Mark Lamb versus the current administration. And the other thing is the military hasn't been able to meet their quota. And why is that? Because we have a weak commander-in-chief in Washington.
Yeah, this is true. If he is a commander-in-chief. Alan mentioned something about the jail that I don't believe the average citizen out there understands about the deaths in the jail. Alan, what was that you were talking about?
I believe you're talking about the number of in custody deaths that have taken place in the Maricopa County Jail. After I started out with a small sheriff's office, so I'm familiar with the structure, the rank structure of the sheriff's office. But to have, and I think it was like 12 in a year or something like that, is astronomical. It's off the hook. And the leadership has to come in and deal with those problems. And obviously they're not, because it's continuing. Now, I know Jerry ran the jail for a while throughout his career, and those kind of things didn't happen. And I will tell you, just briefly, as a cop, as a police officer, if you have no leadership and don't feel that they're going to support you and back you, and then you have the mass exodus, the morale goes in the dumpster right away, and it makes for very difficult times, because you have people working massive amounts of overtime. The workload just never seems to stop, and people seem to forget that cops have home lives too, wives, kids, and they just need their rest, and it's not working. And this is the guy, Jerry Sheridan is the guy, because people are asking him to come back, that they have that kind of faith and confidence in, and so do I. This is the guy that needs to be the Maricopa County Sheriff.
Thanks, Al. Let me address the issues in the jail. Okay, 75% of what the Maricopa County Sheriff does is that jail system. That's his 80% of that's his budget. I ran those jails. As a matter of fact, I helped design and construct the 4th Avenue Jail, Lower Buckeye Jail, and any one of those jails is bigger than probably 98% of the sheriff's entire system across the country. So this is a big operation, 4th largest county jail system in the country. And they've averaged about 49 deaths a year since I left. 49 deaths a year for last 7.5 years. And so just last year alone, it was in the paper the other day that there 43 deaths just last year alone. I don't know what the current rate is, but just a couple of weeks ago, 2 people died in custody. And when we say in custody, they're in jail, and they're dying of mostly from suicides and drug overdoses. Yes, I said that, drug overdoses. Fentanyl is killing people across this country. We lose 7 people a day because of drug overdoses in Maricopa County, and 4 related to fentanyl. But also in the jail, they've had murders. They had 5 murders in a period of 2 months back in 2022. That's crazy. Why the DOJ, they're all over Phoenix PD, but they should be all over this jail system, because this is absolutely unheard of. And to give you an example, when I was the sheriff, I want to be the sheriff. When I was the chief, we averaged about 7 deaths a year. And I thought that was 7 too many, to be honest with you. I mean, we really worked to get the suicides down. We had relatively no drug deaths in the jail system because we made a conscientious effort to keep the drugs out of the jail system. And this current administration, this sheriff came in here, he knew nothing about it. He was from a big city police department here in the Valley and knew nothing about the jails, put the wrong people in place, and the things went downhill. And then his policies chased many people away. And what he tried to do is make the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office into what he knew, which is he was comfortable with the way Phoenix Police Department ran. Well, they're 2 distinct agencies, 2 different cultures, and Al could probably talk about that because he's worked for 2 different law enforcement agencies. And you can't make one like the other because you're the boss and you feel comfortable. It would be like me going to Phoenix PD, right? And making Phoenix, trying to turn all those officers and employees from Phoenix into what the sheriff's does. It doesn't work that way, and it doesn't work the other way around either. And that's what scares me about this guy that I'm running against. He's from Phoenix PD, and he's got his problems. He doesn't know a damn thing about the jail system. 75%, of what he's going to be doing. And when I handed over the jail system to the sheriff, Penzone, it was considered the best run jail system in the nation. Those aren't my words. Those are the NCCHC's words. They wanted to use it as a model. And I handed that over to Penzone, and now it's the worst run jail system in the country. Those are my words. And so think about this for a second. This other guy gets elected. He knows nothing about the jails, and the jails are already in the basement. How much further can it go?
Jerry, could you explain that acronym you used? Is that the National Center for Jails, or?
That's a National Correctional Health Care. National Accreditation, NCC, National Accreditation Health for Healthcare. It's a healthcare accreditation thing.
Okay.
And they look at all aspects of an inmate's life. You know, if you would have asked me 2 minutes ago what NCCHC stands for, I could have told you. You put me on this.
I'll take responsibility for that. Now, what is the jail population? What is it as far as numbers, and what are they generally made up of, so we can put in perspective what these deaths are?
Well, yeah, think about that. That's a good question, because when I'm talking about when I was running the jails, we had anywhere from 9,000 to 12,000 inmates. Now there's maybe 6,500. And it's still having all these deaths. It's the worst jail in the country. There's no doubt about that. And nobody seems to care about it. I've been beating this drum for a year and a half, Randy, since I started running for sheriff, you know, probably a little after when I learned about what was going on down there. But they've kept it pretty quiet. I mean, most people in Maricopa County have no clue what's going on. And believe me, every one of those deaths is a potential lawsuit, a big lawsuit. Sheriff gets sued a lot. And why they're keeping that quiet too, I don't know.
Well, could you let's move. This is important, particularly when you're talking about budgeting, and you have to go to the Board of Supervisors, unfortunately, for your entire budget, or just most of it. Is there any liberty?
We do get some other funding sources. You know, we work basically for the Forest Service. They hire us to do the National Forest of Tano. So we patrol that and some other funding sources. But the most part of that budget, our general fund budget, does come from the Board of Supervisors.
How would you say the relationship today is with the Board of Supervisors compared to when you were in office? Is it any better? Is it worse? About the same? And is there anything that you would do differently?
It's probably about the same. It's probably about the same. Now, there's going to be a new board. There are 3 seats up, and there are challengers to all those seats. I think there was 2 Republican board members that didn't run again, and so there's races in those districts.
That's also important for the voters to understand, is that if you got a Phoenix PD cop with, well, it doesn't sound like he was a ball of fire, and he's going to come into the sheriff's department and now be responsible for all the administrative planning and budgeting and going to the Board of Supervisors, preparing the budget. There's no experience in that area. You have 30 years of doing, well, most of your 30-year career doing that.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to be an impact on the community when we already had Penzone, who has not been, well, he was, I personally, I think him as a failure. He may be a nice man or whatever, but he had no idea what he was doing. And when you have such a big responsibility, you're failing.
Yeah. He was, first of all, he was not a nice person to the employees. And I can back that up by showing you a tattoo that an officer put on his arm because Penzone threw a chair at him. He's got a tattoo with the wings on the chair. So Penzone was not a nice guy like everybody wants in the media wants to talk about. But I don't want to talk about him. He's gone.
So that he
So,
committed felony assault on an officer, basically,
well,
under the law.
I guess he did. I guess he
Okay.
did. So, what was your question? You got me on a sidetrack there.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, the budget.
just,
Okay.
just
Okay.
concerning
Yeah,
the
yeah.
jail and going to
So
the
the
board.
budget this year for the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office this fiscal year is $536 million. Okay. Now I have experience, the 12 years that I ran the jail system dealing with 80% of that budget. And then the last 6 years as the chief deputy dealing with 100% of that budget. And every year, we always came in under budget. And so the budget is a huge issue, especially for taxpayers. And so they want to, if they vote for this lieutenant from Phoenix PD, they're voting for somebody that has no clue about a lot of things and using their tax dollars, where I do. This is critical. That and the jail system, those are the two big distinctions between me and this guy. And of course, he's got some baggage in his background that I don't really even want to get into.
Alan, did you have a question you wanted that's burning?
Well, I have a kind of an observation, and I'm not going to try to demean anybody, but like I told you at the beginning, I'm a retired sergeant. The person that I answered to as a patrol sergeant or work in the street is a lieutenant. All right. Jerry has already spoken on the knowledge that he has handling the budget, what percentage of the budget goes to the jail and what goes on in the jail and the whole 9 yards. And the bottom line is this: he started out at the bottom and worked his way up to the top. 40 years. That's experience. He knows the ins and outs. He knows the pitfalls to avoid. He's run the jail. He's run the construction of the jail. He's already given us the stats about the deaths, the in custody deaths. When Jerry gets elected, and I hope he does, he hits the ground running. He might have to brush a little dust off, but the bottom line is he has the ability to take this department forward in a big way. Not only does he have the support of the troops that have asked him to run, he checks the box for leadership, he checks the box to improve the morale, and he is speaking right now, showing you that this lieutenant has not been, aware of what's going on, and he's going to have to figure all these things out. Okay, you can't appoint experts. Experts gain their knowledge by doing. Jerry has done that.
Well, thank you, Alan. I can tell you the sheriff's office is much more complicated than a city agency because we do a lot more things than just the law enforcement side. The jail system, obviously, we've talked about that, but civil process, collecting taxes, search and rescue, extraditing prisoners, all these things there are 40 different departments within the sheriff's office that have their own funding stream. And so, again, this is a very complicated operation. Now, look, I'll tell you something, Alan. I know as a chief, as a leader, as somebody that's been there myself, the sergeants run the daily operation with their people. They're the most important cog in the wheel to get the job done, to serve the people and keep the people safe, right? The lieutenant, I was a lieutenant for 9 years. I know what lieutenants do. I always said this, it's a bastard position because you're not a sergeant with the troops and you're not the captain of the precinct yet or the substation. And so you're in there, you're in limbo, and it's kind of a BS position, be honest with you. So, I got promoted to beyond lieutenant to captain, the deputy chief to executive chief to chief deputy. And those are the positions that really help me get in a position where I can feel like the day I get there, the minute I get there, I can begin to make positive changes for the sheriff's office. And that's really what this is about, because you get this lieutenant from Phoenix PD elected, and it's going to take him years to figure out what's going on, which way is up.
And we don't have years.
No, the things are so bad right now. I'm sorry I didn't get elected in 2020 because things have gone down even further the last 4 years.
Well, I'm not saying this is your opinion, but my opinion is you did win that election. Just looking at the statistics and the numbers of that, but we don't need to go there, but I believe that you are going to get it this time. And it's so important for the county, which is, I guess, the fourth largest in the country. I mean,
Right.
Maricopa County is larger than many states.
Yes,
And
5 states.
yeah,
Yeah, let me tell you this, and something that we didn't talk about. Okay, the heartbeat of any law enforcement agency is communications, right? The radio dispatchers,
yeah.
right, Al? Would you agree with that or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Definitely.
all right, that's the heartbeat.
They're your lifeline.
So we built a new headquarters back in 2014, I think it was. And really, the reason we got the new headquarters is because the county needed to build us a new communication center. So we built a state-of-the-art communication center that was bomb-proof, the whole 9 yards, right? And
Good.
we staffed that with anywhere from 10 to 12 people a shift. There's oftentimes, you ready? You're sitting down. There's oftentimes during the week now, at least twice a week is what I've been told, that the radio dispatchers will come on and say, don't give anything, don't get on the radio unless you have emergency traffic. There's only 2 of us here today. Now, this is I'm not done yet. This is the 4th largest county in the country. You know what we have in this county? The largest nuclear power plant in the nation. Okay? Do you know who the first responders is to that, to any emergency? The Maricopa County Sheriff. Okay? So think about this. And you know, when things happen and they go to hell, they don't happen at a time when you're prepared for it. So think about this. If we had an issue at Palo Verde nuclear plant, and you have 2 people, one answering the 911 calls and one dispatching the deputies, and we had an issue with Palo Verde. See, this is the thing that people don't know about what's going on and what has been going on. I wanted to run against the sheriff that quit in January. I wanted to beat him fair and square. And he wimped out on me and quit in January. Because all these things are because of his lack of understanding of the sheriff's office and leadership. And I'm pretty pissed about it, to be honest with you.
So there's only 2 dispatchers. We had 2 dispatchers on duty for a town of about 45,000 people. What is the average dispatch workload and the manpower needed for your dispatch for Maricopa County? And how many square miles is Maricopa County?
Okay, it's 9,224 square miles. It goes from Four Peaks. Everybody knows where Four Peaks is, right?
Yeah.
Those mountains are 8,000 feet. There's pine trees up there. All the way to what, about 60 miles from California, all the way down to maybe 40 miles to the Mexican border, and all the way up to Black Canyon City. So it is a huge county. It's got 4.6 million people, and oftentimes, several times during the week, we have 2 people in communications. Unbelievable.
So that would
If
be
the
a
people
part.
knew about this, they would be out there with pitchforks and torches. And I've got to deal with this the minute I get there. This is going to be a big issue. And again, I go back to this guy that has no clue about what's going on, or what he said he's going to continue with the progressive ways of Paul Penzone, which scares the hell out of me. And that's what his mantra is. And that I'm the devil, I'm the devil. I'm the bad guy.
No, Alan, if you've got a short staff dispatch, and the dispatch is your lifeline, and they can't get backup, or they're overwhelmed with 15 calls, which is nothing for the sheriff's department probably, and they got to prioritize. That's a stressful position.
It's
You don't want your dispatch. Oh, we lost Alan. Well, he'll call back. But
Okay. So
Jerry,
I can help answer that. And it's really a disaster for the people we're trying to protect. If they dial 911 and don't get an answer right away or at all, that's a disaster. That's a failure. That's a huge failure of the sheriff and his responsibility to keeping the people of this county safe. And why they would let it get that bad is beyond me. And again, it goes back to a lack of leadership. You can't have a line level supervisor, which is what a sergeant lieutenant is, try and take on the responsibility of the sheriff with the fourth largest county in the country. It's supposed to, MCSO is supposed to have 4,006 employees. There's maybe 2,700, and I'm being generous.
does that include
So,
sworn and non-sworn?
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've got all these issues, and you got a guy that has no idea what the sheriff's office is like. You know, put the politics aside, because Randy, you know this as much as anybody. You know, being a law enforcement officer on duty, there's no politics involved. You're just enforcing the law, the Constitution, and fulfilling your duties to the people. And so politics aside, it doesn't matter what somebody feels about this issue or that issue. You're going to enforce the law and protect the Constitution, just like in the Constitution of Arizona, just like we take an oath. And so that's why people that are thinking about this, oh, well, Sheridan's a Republican and the other guy's a Democrat. No, you need to put that aside and look at the experience level of somebody to run a large organization that is very, very, very sick.
Oh, you're right. We've been, even let's talk. I got to talk party for just a second, but even the Republicans divide within. They point fingers. Well, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you got to do this. But the reality is anybody that picks up that phone for your service, it doesn't make a difference what Republican or Democrat or independent. It has to do with the fact that they have a need and they need a service, and we need to be there to respond to it.
Yep.
So that was just for everybody out there, is like Republican, Democrat, independent, whoever you are, if you're voting, you need to look at the reality of what we are as a country. Is we are citizens of the United States, citizens of Arizona, and the services that we call for is regardless of what you register as. And I think it's important that people realize that for you, Jerry, there's nobody that has more experience running or has run, other than when Arpaio was there, since Arpaio. And it's a detriment to vote anything other than someone with your experience. I got another question, is that a while ago we were in discussions and I was talking to other people actually from Fountain Hills, and there was incidents happening there. And I went on the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department crime reporting for the the calls, service calls. And there was no service calls reported for a 2-year period for Fountain Hills. Do you have any? I don't know if we talked about it or not. I don't know if we did, but what is the cause of that? I mean, they're supposed to report service calls regularly, and there was nothing for a 2-year period.
Well, I think it's a 3-year period now. Their excuse was the records management system went down. So I hear that's true, that's not true. I don't know. but they are required throughout. It's not just Fountain Hills; it's the entire county. They are required to report crime data to DPS, Highway Patrol, and to the FBI. And they're not doing that. And they haven't done that. And again, here's another thing that the ball was dropped big time. And nobody questioned it. Nobody asked about it. And I'm going to tell you this, Randy. When I get elected sheriff, when I take over, hopefully on November 15th, because the last sheriff quit. So I don't think I'm going to have to wait till January 1st. All of a sudden, everything's going to be my fault, right? I'm going to inherit all this crap that we just talked about and everything else. But you know what? I don't care, because it needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed for the people that work at the sheriff's office and the people that we serve, the 4.6 million people. And I'm willing to do that and take it on, take the heat. I'm a big guy. I've taken a lot of heat during this campaign. It's all BS. But anyway, and I've taken it before. So, but we need somebody to get there and start to make these changes, because the sheriff does have a big impact on the safety of people in this county.
Yeah, they do. And just the fact that they weren't reporting, that gives the ability for the fraudulent reporting of how low crime is, what they like to tell people.
Right.
And
That's one of the reasons that I haven't used any crime data. And, the crime has gone up. If you talk to the people out there, yes, the crime has gone up. And so, but there's no factual basis to it. So I don't like to talk about things that I can't prove.
well, I think we've kind of given some proof with the fact that they haven't reported, because they claim that their crime reporting system went down. And if that's a yearly budget, what are they spending the money on if it's still down for 3 years? Could that be a misuse of funds? Where's that money
Well,
going?
there is a new system that they're putting in place, and I don't know how much those systems cost, but they're tens of millions of dollars. You know that, especially for an organization as large as MCSO.
Okay.
So but I don't know for a fact how much.
Well, let's see. Let's wrap it. I'm going to wrap it up with I think the people are curious. What is it you aim? You see this department, the office as it is now. What is your goal to have the office become and be? So when you have your last day, you can look back and say, we succeeded.
Randy, I want people that work there to want to come to work every day, to be proud when they put that uniform on, because then they will go out and protect the people of this county and keep them safe. That's what I want to do. I want to train them in leadership, everyone. I want to train them in their constitutional responsibilities. And what that really means is taking care of people's civil rights. This, I don't want to get into the whole constitutional issue, because people don't understand when I say that it's to protect everyone in this county. And so, but that's also a legacy. And I want people to know what the sheriff's office is doing. So I will use the availability of the media, whatever, to let people know what their sheriff's office, the sheriff's office belongs to the people of this county. It doesn't belong to me. And matter of fact, my leadership style is very simple. I work for them. I work for the people at MCSO. They don't work for me. And subsequently, they work for the people of this county. The employees of MCSO work for the people of this county. That's how this works. It's not the other way around. And I know I can do this. I know I can get it done. If we had more time, I could read you a couple of emails and text messages I got from people that work there and say, Chief, I'll come back. if you get elected, or chief, if you don't get elected, I'm leaving. And so this is serious, because the sheriff's office is on the verge of a collapse now. And this is why I put a lot of pressure on myself and my family to get this done, because I know what's really going to happen. And I'm not an alarmist. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know, I'm a realist, and I know what's going to happen. And the sheriff's office will crash. The jails will close, and it will be a disaster.
Well, it's just about 50% undermanned right now, the entire department, or the office.
Well, the operations side is, yes, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Well, you mentioned Constitution and protection of civil liberties, civil rights. Just to clarify for people, I just want them to understand that when someone says they're a constitutional sheriff or a constitutional officer or a constitutional legislature, which is a rarity for legislators, all that means is that they're pro-government. Those that are telling you that it's right wing are the anti-government, because we are a foundation under the constitutions of Arizona and the United States, and that is the law that governs government. If you think that being right wing for operating under the Constitution, then you need to reevaluate your value system and your morals and your position of government, because either you're a constitutional republic believing individual or you're anti-government. The Arizona Free Enterprise Club, I'm sorry, not them. Sorry about that. They're not a bad organization. The Southern Poverty Law Center, the Brennan Center for Justice. These are the anti-government agencies, because they turn around and they point fingers at people like Jerry Sheridan, Joe Arpaio, other sheriffs who say that they believe in the Constitution, and say, well, you're anti-government. You don't have more authority than anybody else. And it's like, no, you don't. You have your authority based on the Constitution and your oath to uphold it. Those that act outside the Constitution, they have authority over that. So I just want the people to understand, and it's nice to hear Jerry acknowledge that, but I want an understanding of, before any judgment is cast on anyone who says that, you need to read the Constitution and you need to understand it before you cast judgment.
Well, it's too late, Randy, because the media's already gone after me, because, I said I will be a constitutional sheriff. And don't forget, we take an oath. Every law enforcement officer, every elected official in this country basically takes the same oath, that you will support the Constitution of the United States. And here in Arizona, it also says the constitutional laws of the state of Arizona, and I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, blah, 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 right? And so everyone takes that same oath to protect people's rights, to protect the constitutional rights of everyone in this county, the civil rights. And I like to use that word because that was Martin Luther King's words. And yet the media still wants to beat me up because I say I want to protect people's civil rights. Unbelievable.
Well, we understand what the media is. They clearly, anyone who attacks based on that has no merit in judgment. And they are clearly either ignorant or they are against continuing a constitutional form of government. They want to go to a socialist form. And people need to recognize that and say, you know what? The news media has become the enemy of the state because of their attack on those that say we want to follow the law. All Jerry, you're saying is that you want to follow the law. Well, we are.
You know what, Randy? In 2 weeks, okay, we will know who wins, the media or the people, right?
Yes. Good point.
So,
well, you've got my.
I know you said you only wanted to do 20 minutes, and it's almost been 40 minutes.
Well, look, we're doing right because you need to increase your manpower by 50%. So we went 50% over, or actually 100% over. So we're on the right track. If you can do this, you can do it at the sheriff's department.
Yes. All right. What we'll do is after I get elected, we'll come on and maybe we can do a scheduled show once a month or something.
That sounds good. I think that'd be good, and we can address some
Yeah,
some of the
because
comments from the people.
yeah. Because you got to get the message out. The sheriff belongs to the people. Sheriff's elected by the people. Sheriff reports only to the people, and the people need to know what their sheriff's doing. For
I can
one
promise
thing,
you.
Arpaio made a habit of maybe oversaturating people with what the sheriff was doing. And then the sheriff that took over from him didn't say anything. People have no clue. A lot of people don't even know he was the sheriff for 7 years and he's come and gone. They don't even know. So there's a happy medium in between, and that's what I represent.
I appreciate that. Let's make that a plan.
Okay.
And do you have any last statement before we sign off?
Yes. Please go to my website. It's www.sheridan4sheriff2024.com. Check me out if you want. Donate some money to the campaign. We've got 2 weeks left. I've got some videos and some things that we need to get out on the streaming media, and that stuff is not cheap. And I'd like to do some radio ads. Again, that's not cheap. And I need the help. And even in the last 2 weeks of this election, I've got a big fundraiser tonight. And we're continuing to work hard to get this done. And it's been a 2-year endeavor, 7 days a week, 8 to 14 hours a day, depending. And I'm committed to doing this and working as hard as your sheriff to keep you safe. And I'd appreciate any help that you can give me along the way. Thank you, Randy.
You're welcome. And if anybody wants to help volunteer to maybe pick signs up after the campaign, they can do that on your website.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. That's coming up, isn't it? We got to
Yeah.
get those signs down within 10 days. The sheriff certainly doesn't want to violate the law. So we're going to have to make a mass
All right.
effort to do that.
Well, I volunteer to help you do that. And if anyone that's watching the video wants to volunteer, contact Jerry on his website and sign up to volunteer. If just 50 people volunteered to take up 3 signs, that would be great.
Well,
All right.
I've got 1,900 signs out there, Randy. So
Okay, well, we'll have to up that number.
yeah, we will.
You're good with knowing what's going on, Jerry. Thank you.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you.
we'll sign off, and thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.